Hello all and welcome to episode 82 of the 3 for 1 Sky Fantasy Podcast by fantasyfootballhub.co.uk. My name is Fergi and I'm joined as usual by my co-host Paul McAnulty. Paul, how was your Sky weekend?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks Fergie. Jumped 20 places, so I didn't miss any hauls from well-owned players, even though I captained Kane over Son. I think that was probably the popular way to go anyway. So yeah, pretty good week. Pretty happy with things.
Good week indeed. I still haven't got Son, and I haven't really got an easy route to him either. So I know we're going to talk about him in a bit of detail in a minute. I'm quite interested in your thoughts actually, because I haven't got an easy route. I've kind of, the way I've paved my path now for the rest of the season doesn't allow me really that premium price point unless I do a double move, which I'm not keen on. But yeah, he's a scary prospect at the moment. He's absolutely on fire, isn't he? So looking forward to talking about that. I had a bit of a splurge of transfers, Paul, on the weekend. As planned, we touched on it last week, but I was on 10 this time last week when we spoke, and I'm now down to 6 because I kind of shifted on, was it Rafinha, Chris Wood and Kilman, all of who have, I think Wood, to be fair, might offer a fair bit still in the short term, but I switched them on to Cancelo, Maddison, and I can't remember the third one was, Gallagher, as an enabler, but I'm fairly happy with those moves, I think.
I think that makes sense, as long as, and I don't think that you would do this, and probably can't do that with 6 transfers anyway, as long as you don't mind coming into a Leicester game and Maddison gets a pension or anything like that. I think as I say, I think based on the volumes of games, as long as he doesn't pick up an injury, you're quite happy. Like, you wouldn't be too disappointed with the odd pension for him.
It's only the captaincy games I'd be pissed about, really. In terms of normal games, I think you can say that about a lot of players, can't you? So I think it's fine. And I've got a couple of planned moves, for the next few weeks when the fixtures shift again. After game week 34 and 35 and stuff. So yeah, definitely not gonna win the game this year, but 143rd, reasonably happy. Still hope I can finish in the top 100. Got decent team, all captaincies covered and wherever else, so we'll see where we go. Did you use many transfers on the weekend, Paul?
I used a few, yeah. And it's similar to you, I'm pretty happy where my team is now.
Yeah.
I've got it set for maybe 2-3 weeks, obviously barring injuries or anything that comes out that appeals, but no, I'm pretty happy with the way things are going. On top, with the 20 position jump at the weekend of me as well, I play in the overall £2, £5, £10, £20 league, and I managed to make up quite a bit of ground on the highest places there, so I moved up to 5th on the £20 league.
Wow.
And I closed the gap, making me think that although I believe Son's got a high concentration ownership in the top 100, that of people that hire me in those cash leagues, I don't think the concentration was as perhaps deep as what I think it's in the top 100. So I was pretty happy with the outcome of that as well.
Exciting stuff there for you, mate. Could be in for a fair wedge at the end of the season. Good work. For any new watchers and listeners, you are very, very welcome. If you haven't subscribed to us yet, please press the subscribe button at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen and set the alerts so you don't miss our podcasts and live streams here every single week. Also, please press the like button if you enjoy our content. It would be much, much appreciated. Good, after just the afternoon, Barry Morrison is in. Johnny White, first time catching alive in ages. Great to have you with us, Johnny. Decent week. Made it back just inside the top 1k. Good work. Glenn Murray says, Son has me crying. Obviously mean the Spurs player. Steve Cheek is in. Geo Boys, Martin Beasley, Liam Dorian, FPL Sparta, Billy Anderson, Perry Hart, who I believe is leading the whole game at the moment. Well done, Perry. The dad course, who is, I think, 3rd, I want to say now. Climb back up a little bit. Great work there. We've got 1st and 3rd in the chat. And Mark Daniels in as well. Great to have you all with us. So today, we're just going to have a look at the new top 1k ownership and the key points from the last game week. Some massive hauls this weekend. Absolutely incredible. We will ask the question, because I'm really keen on this, whether it's too late to jump on Son or not. Obviously, the key time was probably a couple of weeks ago. I'm not exactly sure where he scored in Sky, but I know he's scored 48 points in the last 3 game weeks in FPL, which is absolutely insane. And that obviously probably means a much higher amount in Sky, especially if you captained him. So well done everyone who's got on him. It was a bit of a risky move maybe, but if you've got on him and captained him, he has been absolutely incredible for you. We will look at the transfers remaining, which we guess would probably have taken a significant dip on the weekend, and preview next week's fixtures before we take on some Twitter questions and look at the updated mini leagues. Amandeep Tatler is also in the chat. Afternoon, first time seeing live. Great to have you with us, Amandeep. Wonderful manager and 902 Music Group. Asking a couple of questions. We'll have a look in a sec. He's got 7 transfers left there. So firstly, just looking at some of the hauls on the weekend. Mason Mount, 25 points, absolutely insane, followed by Son with 23. Timo Werner and Marcus Alonso with 18 and 16 respectively. What were your kind of key takeaways for this?
Yeah,
Paul?
so preempted some of the questions, and based on the outcomes or unexpected outcomes for Champions League games, I think close eye on Chelsea assets again. So you've got Christensen in there with 12. Those that don't own Rudiger, 13 points. You'd mentioned Mount, they're 9.2 million, only in 1.9% of teams. So definitely with them being out of the Champions League now, you can see a stronger Chelsea lineup. I think Reece James, I think maybe those that came off Thiago Silva maybe came off a little bit prematurely. Because we can see him playing the majority of games through to the end of the season now as well. So, and that 6-0 rout against Southampton, all the Chelsea boys returning well. Other people I was looking at is Brentford. We've got that Man United Brentford single game day coming up, and I'm swaying more towards a Brentford player than I am a Man United player. After that Monday game, Brentford play Southampton at home, Everton away, and then finish with Leeds at home at the end of the season. Yeah. And I think there's a few good assets in there. So you've got Sky managers have a never again attitude towards Mbeumo, but I don't have that relationship with him. I was pretty happy with for 7.2 million what he returned.
He got the penalty in that big captaincy day, didn't he? Which was massive for owners.
Yeah, so yeah, I don't have the same resentment as I perhaps have towards Zaha and other players of that ilk that always seem to do terrible when I own them. So yeah, and Mbeumo 7.2, Tony 7.9, and Eriksen isn't on the list, but he is 7.8, and those are players that I'm looking at as well, keeping a keen eye out.
Just on Brentford as well, their fixtures finish really nicely, don't they? They obviously got that United captaincy day you mentioned on Monday the 2nd of May, and they finish off with Southampton at home, Everton away, and Leeds at home on the final day. So they, that Leeds at home on the final day, where you can imagine that being some kind of like 4-3 game or something, can't you? As it always is. So yeah, some really good options there, I think. I've got just a question, Paul. I think a general sort of question. Just thinking of seasons gone by. Around players like Salah, for example. So we know historically that when the title goes down to the wire, teams are quite happy to win 1-0 or 2-0, bring off their star players early for Champions League semi-finals and FA Cup finals and for the running and stuff. Do you looking at Liverpool's fixtures? Obviously, it's after Man United, which I think is good. Then they got Everton, Newcastle. After that, they finish off with Spurs, Villa away, Southampton away, and Wolves. You would expect him still to do well, but do you think there would be merit with players like Salah, for example, taking a risk and jumping off him and going for players who've like a Brentford player, for example, and I'm not saying that a Brentford player could potentially outscore Salah, but the cash you release from that is incredible.
I guess kind of Ronaldo or kind of Ronaldo with the captaincy.
Yes, exactly.
I think that's definitely viable. It'll really depend on what your status is in your cash leagues and your mini leagues, because as you've said before, Salah still will probably be likely be captained in those games. So you're going against a massive effective ownership, run the risk. But definitely, if you were happy sinking with the opportunity to rise significantly, I think that's definitely viable.
I think like a switch to Van Dijk, and
Captain
have Van Dijk, Captain Van Dijk, because obviously there's that Villa-Liverpool game on Tuesday the 10th of May that you're not going to want, you're going to need a Liverpool player for, but he should cover Salah kind of reasonably well, as he has done for the majority of the season since overhaul. It's probably fair to say, but just thinking out loud there. I suppose in terms of how I'm going to plan on finishing the season, but yeah. Anything else? Sorry, Paul. Look at Keenan Dewsbury Hall, 6.6 million. Less.
Yeah, I like him more in other formats, I think.
Yeah.
And Telegraph is really cheap.
2.2
is really cheap. It's really cheap. And you're going on the basically the volume of games and the team structure, whereas 6.6 is, I know it is on the budget side, but it doesn't, like, you can save another 0.8 by going down to Ramsey if you don't already own Ramsey for a similar amount of games. I think Leicester might have one or two more, but that was, you got to remember that was his second and third attacking return of the season. And whilst a placeholder at 6.6 should be happy getting the 2 points collected, I'm just not sure in this format that it frees up enough money to warrant making that move.
Fair enough. Let's look at the ownership then. Harry Kane still top, 92.4. Salah 86, Cancelo 84. Just looking a bit down, Heung-min Son still only less than 41% owned, which I'm quite surprised at that.
Do you know what I'm thinking? That if you look at Van Dijk's ownership at 50.5, I reckon that the template-ish team in the top 1K is Kane, Salah, and either Van Dijk or Son. There will be a handful of managers that have both, and there'll be a handful that don't have either, which I think because you're in that category. But I think the majority will have one or the other.
I suppose you have to say, it's pretty good pricing by the game, right? To actually, because I think, looking at Mighty now, for example, and I kind of like this in sort of twisted way. I can't get to him very easily. I have to reconfigure my team, and I think that's really good pricing by Sky. Obviously, not just on Son, but on a lot of other players as well. Obviously, there's some underpriced, probably some overpriced, right? Which, we're at the start of the season, you never know really kind of where things are going to land, obviously, right? Yep. But it's really good to have to make tough decisions, and at the moment, I haven't got either. So I've chosen to. At the moment, I've got like 5 mid-price midfielders. I will move off him, but
you're on a 3-5-2, aren't you?
I am at the moment. I will move off it. Obviously once this little run of games out of the way. But I think it's good, and I think that it does allow for variation as well. Because if it was easy to get to, which it kind of was in the first half of the season, wasn't it? Not for Son specifically. It was easy to get to the template. It's it's much more difficult now. So well done, Sky.
James Maddison up to 41.3% from 5%. Wow. I thought it was very interesting. It was a move that I did, and I think you've done it as well. I'm still surprised he went up that high. I was thinking more that his price point 8.8 seemed a bit fiddly in that the popular players that were on in the mid-price bracket was your Coutinho, your Rafinha, etc., who are around the lower, just over 8 million. I thought it might be more difficult to get to Maddison, and the Leicester team didn't look particularly strong because I think they're focusing on the Europa League just now, or the Europa Conference League. That's what it's called.
Or Rafinha also went down, didn't he, from I think it was 40% to 14. Massive swing there.
Yeah. So I was surprised. I was quite happy that people made the move because it means the transfer volumes are continuing to come down, along with the transfers that I was using, making my tally come down as well. So I was pretty happy with that. Nick Pope got some more new managers. He's up to 71.7%. Gabriel went up to 33.4% at the weekend. I want to get off him now. I think that's my next move. I think I'll be, and I'm not too bothered about the volume of games for Arsenal either. I think I'd prefer to move him on to a Chelsea asset, I think, or maybe Matip from Liverpool.
Yeah, they look a bit
ropey to say.
Look ropey. You're right. Yeah. Just on Pope, Paul, did you? I don't want to put you on the spot. You said you were going to try and capture his ownership last Thursday morning.
I did capture his ownership. I need to run through the tapes and see if
Okay.
I will do that.
Awesome.
I will do that, and I'll make sure we can announce that.
Because we were giving away a mug, weren't we? We were
Yep.
giving away a mug for it. Couple of things in the chat. Steve Cheek and the Dad Course say Mbwem no. And Billy Anderson has got the exact dilemma about whether to get on Son or not for Van Dijk. Amandeep Tatler, 299 rank, 11 transfers left. Can I make top 100 in my debut season? I think you absolutely can there, Amandeep. That you've got a good rank and good lot there. Lewis Nichols, what a treat catching this live. Great to have you with us, Lewis. And Johnny White, there are so many options. Yes. He says it's not crazy that earlier in the season it seemed like there were so few, and now there are so many. There are quite a lot. I think that Kulusevski is probably one, who's really, really probably overperformed. I would say in terms of expectations. Saka's obviously come into his own as well. Gallagher has come back now into being an option. So loads of people, including myself, moved off Gallagher. I'm back on Gallagher now. So yeah, there's a lot of midfield options. Obviously Maddison, because it's in terms of forwards for Leicester, it's very hard to pick the right one. So lots and lots of midfield options, which is great for the game. Okay, Paul is going to talk us through now the dilemma. For 60% of us, about Heung-min Son. Paul, do you want to kick us off?
Okay. So this isn't. I'm not thinking about how to get there if you don't get them. This is it too late to get them? There was a question posed in one of the WhatsApp chats that I was in, and I think about this similar to the way that I think about probability. So, and it's trying to. In the Sky game, every calendar day, I reset my thoughts. So I've got a plan, and I reset my thoughts. And has anything changed in the last day? Am I still on course to doing what it is? And I think of it like the spinning of a roulette wheel in the casino. I like casinos, love Vegas, spend a bit too much time probably, some would say in there. But I've got friends that when we've went to the casino before and there's a run of 9 black numbers in a row, and I'll say, red's due. It's got to be red next. It's a reset. So you're thinking it's the same probability of coming in black again than it is red. Now, if you're to try and predict the string, that's different because you're taking your 49% and then 49% off 49% and all the way down. But if you're thinking I think of things independently. So the next spin on roulette, you've got the exact same odds as what you had in the previous time. And I'm thinking the same with Son. So an example, if I was 100 points clear at the top of a mini league and the person in second brought in Son and I didn't, and that wasn't part of my plan, and made up a massive, massive chunk of that difference, you shouldn't think that because the haul happened previously that it can't happen again because it's the same probability. And you could even add form into that to say it's more likely. Yeah. Based on confidence and such like. So I almost think you need to eradicate what's happened for the last 3 or 4 game weeks out of your mind and think fresh. Here's the plan. Here's the list of fixtures coming up. This is the potential hop-on points if I was to go there. And forget that because others have benefited from those hauls previously and you haven't, that's not necessarily a bad thing still to get on them. If you have a look at Spurs' fixtures, so Brighton at home, Brentford away, Leicester at home, Liverpool away, Arsenal at home, Burnley at home, Norwich away through to the end of the season. That's a great run of fixtures still. And Son performs well in big high-profile games.
He does.
High-profile games anyway. And he's probably going to be captained by a lot of people now. Like there's more confidence in Son now than there perhaps is over Harry Kane, who's obviously more well-owned than he is. I just think that don't think it's too late because you're not chasing last week's points. That reset your mind and think about what's coming up, and is that the right move to make for you and for your team?
I agree, and I also think that there are other factors as well which support getting him in, which is getting me slightly nervous now. I think, Paul, because I don't have him in. I don't have an easy route either. But you've mentioned, right. So Son has been sensational at home. I know he scored his hat-trick away last year. He's been incredible at home. They got four of the 7 at home. Added motivation. Like, Spurs are the form team in the league, right? They've scored 9 in their last 2. Expected goals, they're topped by an absolute mile over the last 6 games. Motivation of getting to top 4.
Son always outperforms his expected goals because he's an elite finisher as well.
He does. You can see the way Spurs are playing. Motivation for top 4 is just incredible at the moment. And on top of that, probably for the first time, I would guess, he's got the motivation potentially for the Golden Boot as well. So he's actually got all these factors only add weight to the fact that he's a great player, world-class finisher anyway, right? So I think I've taught myself into destroying my team getting in.
I just think I would separate the two questions. Is it too late to get Son in? You're thinking about past performance. Just take that to the side, and the question should be: should I get Son in?
Yeah, it's quite tough early doors to find a hop-on point, isn't it? Because they play the next 4 Saturdays, which is very unlike Spurs, obviously being out of Europe.
The Brentford game might move to the Sunday.
Okay.
So if Liverpool play the first leg of their Champions League game on a Tuesday, then the Liverpool-Everton game that's on the Sunday will move to the Saturday, and the Spurs-Brentford game will move to the Sunday. I think that's, and I'm not sure if that's concrete, but I think that's what's been either predicted or is definitely the case.
Tough going, Paul. I think you've take your point on board.
Yeah,
and also he's still quite lowly owned. He's still almost a differential, isn't he? At 40%. I'd say in this game anything over 60 or 70, but 40% is still quite low owned.
I think if you're 1,000-ish and you're trying to make top 500 as your aim, I still think that, as I said earlier on, I don't think the concentration of Son owners is at that 500 to 1,000 bracket. I think that it's more at the kind of 100 to 1 to 200 level.
Yeah,
I don't know why I'm waving a pencil about either.
1 to 200 level. No, good stuff. Thank you, Paul. Great stuff there. Great insight into your analytical gambler's mind as well.
Do you know, Fergi? Do you know what's the only bet in a casino that you're given fair value odds on?
Fair value.
Yeah. So the casino, so if you're spinning a roulette wheel, there's 37 numbers. If you put 0, and you'll get 35 to 1 odds. If you don't know it, it'll be hard to guess.
Okay,
it's on craps that when you're rolling the dice and you're in the qualifying stage, that you get an offer to put money behind what you've got. So if it lands on the on button, you'll get paid fair value odds, and if it doesn't, you'd lose it. But only bet in the casino that the bookies don't take a rake off.
So every other transaction in the casino will end in the
roughly 3%, roughly 3%ish.
Wow. Okay. Interesting stuff there. Let's have a look at average transfers remaining. So in the top 10 at the moment, only 5.6 left, and this was obviously pre-weekend. So you guess again, that's gone down. Top 100, 7.6. Top 1,000, 8.1. Top 5,000, 7.4. So they are definitely being eaten up quite quickly. And I would guess that you could probably knock an average of maybe 1.5 to 2 off there, I would think, after this weekend. So,
Maddison alone's 0.4.
Yes, really good point. In terms of transfer, we are in game week 33. There's still, what is there, roughly 5, 7, 9, 10. There's still about 20 odd game days left. But we can finally see now. We can see the end of the season, can't we? We can, and everything's almost planned out now until the end of the season. And we've got 6 left, and obviously, if I had Son, I think I'd be incredibly happy. Obviously, I don't have Son or a Liverpool defender, so that does concern me a little bit. But I think generally now, in terms of having 6 to 8 transfers, which a lot of people will have now, I think you can reasonably navigate through to the end of the season. probably optimise and taking advantage of most things along the way, can't you? Whereas normally by now we're scrapping around with like 3 left, making emergency transfers for injuries. So I think it's been a funny season like that, Paul, because I'm not sure whether it's just the fact that I don't know, key players haven't got injured, or the template was just so strong, or other factors. But we've seemed to be able to really navigate through this season.
We talked to 2 or 3 pods ago about how lucky we thought we had been this season.
Yeah.
And if there was an example of a period where mid-priced midfielder got injured, replaced by mid-priced midfielder got injured, replaced by mid. You could have followed that chain, and that was a natural chain to follow as well. This was reasonably high-owned players who have high ceilings getting injured one after another. So there is some managers that will have been in that unfortunate position to have used transfers and that. But yeah, I agree with what you're saying before. It feels like it's been relatively straightforward to navigate, out with the kind of COVID cancellations and other elements, which obviously was a bit more difficult earlier on in the season.
I think as well, we complimented, we complimented the pricing earlier. I do think players like, Gallagher was a complete anomaly, right? He turned into a sky beast from nothing. But Chelsea defenders, maybe Rudiger, 9.1 is crazy. He should have been 10 and a half, shouldn't he? And if that had been the case, I also personally think that keepers are underpriced now as well, just kind of generally. I think that, if you look at the points per million, per game stats, as we did a few weeks ago, it was packed with keepers, right? They just, they're kind of way too cheap. 9 points for a clean sheet. And, people like Edison Alisson get 19 or 20 a season.
Yeah, I don't know with the goalkeepers, I think that, I'm not saying that in comparison to other positions they're priced wrong, but priced against each other, I think the goalkeepers are priced well.
Priced against each other, but the fact that, you can get a keeper who can just for a clean sheet alone, it's 9 points for 7.5 million for an elite keeper.
But nobody picks them.
Well, yeah, okay, that's fair enough. But I think that I think that maybe Edison, Mendy, Alisson should be more, should be closer personally to 9 million than they are.
I disagree.
Okay, fair enough.
Respectfully,
no?
and only because you're absolutely right in the points that you're making. But if we're going to have a look at the goalkeepers just now, Ederson ownership in the top 1K. 1.9%. If he was priced any higher, that would be 0%. We've got Alisson, 7.8 million, 1.2% in the top 1K.
Yeah. I do think a lot of that though is because obviously
Pope's, it's because of the captaincy. Yeah,
I think it is, but a lot of Pope's fixtures have been back-ended, right? So he's an obvious, incredibly obvious choice. But no, it's a fair point. It's a fair point, but
I don't think that those figures would have spiked for Ederson and Alisson and Mendy. Maybe Mendy at one point. I remember there was a Chelsea block was doing well early on in the season, so maybe there was a run with him in it. But certainly Ederson and Alisson, who have got 182 points and 200 points, which is pretty good going, and yet get overlooked. And I overlooked them as well. So
it's not even the point about picking them as individual players. It's the fact that it takes $1 million out of the rest of your team to make it a bit tougher. I think that's the point I'm trying to make, is that they've priced certain players incredibly well, and then I personally think that keeper position and players like Rudiger is massive in the price in Telegraph as well. He's just been a staple all season, ridiculous. And but anyway, we're going off on a tangent here. But yeah, any kind of takes on the transfers there?
It's a good conversation. I probably hadn't even really thought about that before, because they're just overlooked for captaincy, for fear on captaincy days of Players Hall, I think.
So I think the Pope back-ended number of fixtures and the fact that he's such a good Sky asset makes it fairly easy. He's massively overpriced in Telegraph, right? Because that one good season he had, he's the same price almost as like Allison and Mendy and stuff in Telegraph, which is absolutely nuts. But yeah, any other takes on the transfers at all, Paul?
No, I think there's a question about Ian Parham's transfer account against me
Yeah,
later
that's
on.
right.
So
He's definitely like dragging the averages up, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's have a look ahead now then to game week 36, and we start off with Spurs against Brighton at 12:30. Nice hop on point for Son. Watford against Brentford, Southampton, Arsenal, Man United, and Norwich. So the obvious captain would say would be Harry Kane. But I suppose asking you, Paul, what do you think? Are you gonna chuck you out the window and just go with the form, or go with Kane?
That's like, yeah. I'm going to go with Kane. I can definitely see an argument for going Son, and I think that we're going to find a much higher captaincy on Son than what we have done before on Saturday as well. I think I'll captain Kane.
Man United do have a 3-for-1 over Chelsea this coming weekend. I think if I had a few transfers left and you were maybe thinking of moving on to a Chelsea defender, I would probably go for, I don't know, I'd take a punt on Bruno first, I think. Home to Norwich, obviously, incredible fixture. It is Liverpool and Arsenal after that, but Chelsea play Arsenal in that time, and I think it's worth a punt there, personally, on that one.
Well, if you had Bruno, you'd captain him if you were chasing.
If I was chasing, I probably would, or I'd definitely do Son as a minimum, obviously. I think Bruno home to Norwich could be a pretty good fixture. You don't get to see the lineup, obviously, which is a bit of a pain with someone like Ronaldo, because Ronaldo against Norwich could have a field day as well.
I think I'm taking Gabriel against Southampton as a free hit, and then moving on. Yeah,
makes sense. Sunday the 17th, West Ham against Burnley, Newcastle, and Leicester. Obviously, highly owned Pope. Bowen, I saw, is in 20% of teams.
Yeah, I'd say Bowen would be, if I owned Bowen, I would captain Bowen.
I think I would do as well.
I think Ian Parham might have him as well, so that might be where he makes up some more ground on me. I could be wrong. I can't remember. It was one of his tweets that he wasn't telling you something, but what he said made me think they had him.
Yeah, I think that Bowen at 20% owned. I think Burnley did some stats for Green Arrow last night, and I think Burnley have the fourth highest expected goals conceded in the last 6. They haven't been good at all, have they? So, I think that Bowen would be a really good option there. Newcastle, Leicester. I'm probably going to captain, I don't know, it'd be out of Maddison or Pope for me. I'd probably have to have a bit of a think about that one. Who would you favour?
I've got the same, and I think if Maddison starts, I'll captain Maddison.
Yeah, of course. You get to see the lines for both, which is obviously really, really handy. Good point there. We will touch on next week's midweek games, even though obviously we will touch on them again next week. Liverpool and Man United. Salah will be the obvious go-to choice there. You would guess.
If Salah doesn't start, outside of a trickle of people that still got Trent and the 50% Van Dijk, as I say, I was sitting planning, albeit loosely, because I know there's going to get some games get dropped in, and you've got that Liverpool game that could switch with the Spurs game. But I was loosely planning, and I just can't get a team that I like that's got Son, Kane, Salah, and Van Dijk.
Yeah, that's
it. And I expect Salah to play that game, but he could get benched. Liverpool have 5 great forward options now, so it wouldn't be inconceivable to see that. I think that if that happened, that I would move Gabriel onto Matip and hold Matip through.
Yeah, I think that's a good shot. I'm going to have to go for Matip, I think, because of my budget. But yeah, I'd probably do the same thing there, I think.
Or this could be that opportunity of that you mentioned right at the start of the pod about Salah to Van Dijk, maybe.
Could be.
I just wouldn't want to make that move back.
They got Everton and Newcastle straight after, and he's going to play against United anyway, right? Yeah. Unless he's injured, obviously. He's going to, or gets COVID. But home to Everton a few days later as well.
Who would you consider moving from your team? Coutinho, maybe. I know he's got he's got the extra games at the end of the season and a nice run for Villa.
Yeah, that Coutinho to Matip move is the one I've got lined up to try and cover off a bit of Van Dijk. I do like Matip. He's obviously been injury prone, but if he plays every game, I think he's had more attacking threat than Van Dijk this season. He's always there, isn't he? Great for passing.
So I mentioned about Chelsea coming out of the Champions League earlier on. I think with Liverpool staying in the Champions League might be good for Matip and Sky, because he seems to be playing the Premier games.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
with Kanate playing the Champions League games. So if Liverpool progress tonight, which I guess is expected for them 1-3-1 away from home, that it heightens Matip's appeal even more. If Salah plays, which is as expected, then I'll unlikely make a move there. But that is something that I would definitely consider if Salah was benched.
Agree. On the Wednesday, Newcastle play Palace, Chelsea, Arsenal, Everton, Leicester, Man City, Brighton. Get to see all the lineups before making a decision. Cancelo probably jumps out there, home to Brighton.
He got sent off against Brighton in that fixture. Was it Cancelo? Was it Cancelo that sent off? I would still captain him, and then Laporte and Rudiger's able deputies if.
And then Burnley and Southampton on Thursday, 21st. Southampton have just dropped off a cliff, haven't they? I'm not quite sure what's happened there. I'm even holding on to Weghorst in FPL because of their dip. But obviously Pope will be, the massive favourite there. Tom Hartnell says joining us halfway through his meatball marinara foot long. Thanks for joining us there, Tom, with that.
Hopefully that's sub of the day, so you got it for £2.50.
Okay, let's have a look through some questions. We probably answered a lot of them. Aman Tatler first. With good fixtures ahead, is 2 City defenders enough, or do we need to fit a City midfielder to the mix? Just on that, Paul, I was just looking actually. City have only got 6 games showing. They do have, I think, an extra 1 against Wolves to put in, so it is 7 there. They are incredible fixtures. But there's a lot of teams who've got a lot more fixtures than them, aren't there? Does that kind of play into your thinking or not? Or do you just think, because they're so premium, you just leave them?
So for my own team, I've got Laporte and Cancelo, and I'm happy to, they're both performing really well. I had mentioned, and I'm still planning on doing this unless things happen or injuries occur, to use a large portion of my remaining transfers to rotate around premium defenders or semi-premium defenders. And if there's any, 3 for zeros come up, that's maybe where I would jump off and on Man City defenders.
Yeah, that makes sense. Liverpool do have a 3 for 1. So after Man City play Watford on Saturday 23rd, Liverpool have a 3 for 1 over City. So those who do have lots of transfers left could do a bit of a hokey cokey from, I don't know, if you wanted Laporte to Van Dijk or Matip, and then maybe go back or wherever else. But there are a few opportunities there. In terms of a City mid, it's obviously a tough one. De Bruyne is the one, right? But again, they've priced him really well, and that he's probably out of reach for the vast majority of people. You have to make a sacrifice somewhere. Do you think De Bruyne is, we talked about potentially, asked a question, taking out Salah, maybe, just that mixture of being off form and settling for 1-0s and stuff. Do you think that's a move?
If City progress in the Champions League, I could see the odd resting for De Bruyne in the league potentially as well.
Okay.
They know that Pep's, albeit they've not slowed down in the Premier League race. We all know that Pep's main objective is to win the Champions League. I just think it would be an unnecessary risk, in my opinion, to do that. But again, if I was chasing and I was happy to drop rank, knowing that I was going all out to gain rank, then I could see why that would be a move that appealed.
Aman also asks a question about Dewsbury Hall, which mentioned earlier. Decent-ish option, but probably, if he was, as you say, you can have Ramsey for 0.8 less. He's probably a better option in other formats where he's bargain basement than he in Telegraph and FPL. Kaiser Sose, looks like you had a great weekend, Fergie. Oh, I did. If you haven't seen it, please go on my Twitter and have a look. It was amazing. He asks, what's your highest ever snooker break? So I've had exactly 100 a few years ago. And a fantasy question, with a golden boot now in sight, at what point does Son take over penalties from Kane? It's a good point. It's interesting. What do you think, Paul?
This is a question I thought about most before the pod.
It's interesting.
I think that Spurs finishing fourth is a higher priority than Son winning the golden boot.
Yes.
And I think Kane's an elite penalty taker, and therefore I don't see him coming off penalties. It might be different if they're winning 4 or 5-0 in a game, or it's the last game of the season, and perhaps fourth is either tied up or out of reach at that point. I could see that perhaps changing, but I don't see him coming off penalties unless it's kind of one of those two scenarios.
Yeah, it's we kind of need an injury to Kane, don't we, to definitely. But then would Son score all his points? Because it's usually Kane who does all the donkey work, doesn't it? Those balls over the top. I mean, he's just playing out of this world, isn't he? I mean,
it's like he's playing like a quarterback.
He is,
but like in a number 10 role, if that makes sense.
You can see it though. I don't know how much you watch Spurs, but when Kane picks that ball up, even when it's got his back to goal in his own half, you just look, you just look out the corner of your eye, and Son is gone. He's gone already, and defenders are so slow to react to it. I'm trying to, obviously I'm no Premier League centre back, right? But surely it's something they must look at time and time again. Obviously, catching him offside is really tough because he catches them so well. But would you just stand off him a little bit and give him a bit of room rather than just be caught on the heels? It just seems to happen time and time again. And it's happened now season on season. I don't know. Have you got any? Well, can we get inside the mind pool of a Premier League defender? I don't know. They just seem to fall for it. Every defender seems to fall for it over and over again. And he ends up scoring, obviously he's an elite finisher, right? So they look like easy goals, but just happens all the time.
Yeah, it's probably that natural instinct element that you expect Kane, because he's not looked up, because he knows wherever, he already knows where it is, and that kicks in. I always thought it was interesting that I used to play amateur football, and I was speaking to the goalie from the team, and he said that he hated strikers that took shots early, and originally I thought, I would rather they did shoot early because the accuracy wouldn't be there, but the goalkeeper doesn't have time to set their feet properly.
Yeah.
And
shifting of weight shots a lot in it. Is that weight shift?
And it's maybe something similar to that, and that Kane already obviously has really good awareness. He's already planned out what he's going to do before the ball comes.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas a large proportion of the players, the ball comes and then you've got time to adjust yourself. And
Son knows, right? Son knows. As soon as Kane gets the ball to his feet, even if it's back to goal, Son is gone. He's not even waiting for Kane to turn around, have a look up, which is probably the normal point at which you would make your run, right? Is you kind of catch their eye maybe and, I'm going over here and run. As soon as he goes back to goal, Son is gone, and it's just sensational to watch. And as you say, the centre backs get caught on their heels, don't they, a little bit, and they can't move quickly enough. But yeah. Good stuff. Martin asks, does Chelsea's exit from the Champions League make certain players more attractive for the running? Really good question there.
Yeah, definitely. I think Reece James is at 1.9% just now. Barring him getting an injury, I could see that increasing significantly towards the end of the season. I even think Thiago Silva might pick up even though he had been sold more recently. I think he's down about 20% just now from what was over 30 at one point. I think it was that game. Loads of people picked up Thiago Silva in that game that Rudiger was benched and brought in Silva on the Thursday night. I can see him perhaps gaining a few new managers as well.
As it stands, depending when obviously Man City's outstanding game against Wolves gets put in, but towards the end of the season, obviously the Wolves game will be in as well, right? But Saturday the 30th of April, you could potentially jump off a Man City defender, and you would have a 6-for-3 for Chelsea defender over Man City.
And that Chelsea-Man United game, it's the second last game of the season. If Chelsea progress in the FA Cup, there's thoughts that would get brought forward.
Okay.
And therefore, you might end up with a 7-for-3 in exactly the same scenario you're talking about.
Yeah, it's definitely a 3-for-1. But if that one's brought forward, that could be a definite 4-for-1 there. You know, massive opportunities. This is it, right? You know, if we just hark back right to the start of the season, you know, and people are looking at, oh, it's a 2-for-1, it's a 2-for-1, and we're like, just wait, because like 4-for-1s, potentially even bigger ones, right? You know, 5-for-1s are just
from elite teams.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the important thing is the elite teams and all the points are gained. You know, you can imagine like jumping onto, I don't know, a block Chelsea defence for a 4-for-1 or 5-for-1 for Chelsea over Man City. If they keep 3 clean sheets in that time, it's like 150 points. Just just there. It's massive hauls, isn't it? Julian Wardle, Salah, Kane or Son needs to become a City, Liverpool or Chelsea defender soon. Which one to move on? He says, not so obvious. It's going to be Son. I wouldn't be taking out Son, Julian. I got to be honest. The fixtures are just incredible. I would just leave it for the time being.
Yeah, I'd rather have those 3 and sacrifice another defender. Yeah. And there is more budget options, particularly for Chelsea. And if you wanted to go Matip as well, there's budget-friendly options there that you could perhaps move one of your midfielders or a couple of moves that restructures, perhaps getting an enabler in midfield, downgrading a midfielder to enabler and upgrading either another midfielder or a defender to one of those as well.
Yeah. Another quick stupid question off Julian. He says, when Mark Williams potted his 147 black, do we think Fergie was going straight in for the handshake and had sudden worry of the snub and quickly defaulted into a round of applause? I can tell you what happened there, actually. So I was one of the organisers there, and when he potted his 147, I obviously kind of, jumped up. If you look, he actually looked over and went, that's it, no more. So because he was basically saying, I'm done. And so I turned around to the other organisers and said, oh, he's done now, and then obviously proceeded into applause. But if you haven't seen it, please look at my Twitter. I'll try and post a couple of videos. But basically, we had a snooker exhibition on the weekend at our local club with Mark Williams, and he knocked in 9 centuries in 11 frames, finishing off with back-to-back 147s. It was just absolutely ridiculous. So it was really good. FPL Spartans asks, is block City defence a good option if you are chasing one or more team differentials? Answer that first.
I don't think it is it will be a massive differential, because if you add Cancelo's ownership to Laporte's ownership, I think that of the elite teams that they've got the highest effective ownership in defence already. Yeah. And therefore, if you were looking to be different, to try and chase something, I think, and Liverpool is the hardest block to get on because of the price points. So that would be the biggest differential, would be on a Liverpool block. Chelsea seems more reasonable to get there. And again, I think their effective ownership's less than what Man City's effective ownership is. So if I was chasing, I think that's the tactic that I'd go for, as opposed to the City block.
Yeah, I agree. Between Sunday the 24th of April and Tuesday the 10th of May, Liverpool have a 4-for-2 over Man City, over Man United, over Spurs as well. So it's just it's all timing, isn't it? It's all timing. This is I think you're right there, Paul. And on a scale of 1 to 10, is Paul worried that Ian Parron's going to catch him for the Four Nations League title?
I think there's a good chance he will definitely have more transfers than me, and I think he's got Jared Bowen, who I would say is the best captaincy option on Sunday. So maybe like a 6.5, 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I think he's he's looking good there, and he obviously depends on transfer account, but he has got the thing of switch it, being able to switch between now, haven't he?
Yeah.
We've answered quite a few of these questions actually. One off Tom Hartnell. Any current loan players you expect to increase heavily in the ownership for the running?
Matip 6.2%, Reece James 1.9%.
Agree on those.
Mason Mount 1.9%. I've put Christian Eriksen here 0.8% because of that Man United game day. And if people are still on I think moving on to Tony would be my ideal move, but with the Kane Son Salah partnership, if that's not broken up, then I think Eriksen and the same would be in place for other people in the same position. I think Eriksen at 0.8% just now will be popular, and I'll get quite a few new managers. And I've put Coutinho at 10.1%. I think when people see the volume of games and Villa's fixture run at the end of the season, I think that there's a potential that he may become popular again. On Coutinho.
Pretty nice run. Sorry, go on. Sorry.
Do you know, so I mentioned the mid-priced midfielder slot, the 2-2-2 Hall. Since the 22nd of January, Coutinho 2-17, 2-2-2, 16-13, 4-2-2-2.
About right, isn't it? That's about right. Yeah. He's
the epitome of that.
They have a really nice run, don't they? So from Saturday the 23rd, obviously they blank this weekend, but from next weekend, they go Leicester, Norwich, Burnley. Then they have Liverpool. Then they go Palace and Burnley again. So it's a pretty good run there.
I think he might pick up some more suitors. I think he might pick up some more suitors. That's why I thought that you might end up holding Coutinho, short-term pain, long-term goal. But then I could see. Yeah,
I'm not sure.
I could see arguments for and against.
I think even with 6 transfers left, I think you can still maybe do a bit of daisy chaining potentially, because before, lots of teams have got 3-for-1s and 4-for-1s over Coutinho now, for example. I think there's still a bit of, could still maybe do a bit of daisy chaining. I think needs to get to 5 at the back. I'm only on 3. Messed up there, haven't I?
So am I. So am I, but I'm pretty happy with this. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that as I say, that strike force, Salah, Kane and Son's doing so well and has the potential to continue doing so well that my original plan to kind of go 5-3-2 has changed.
Tom also asks about any thoughts on a bit of a meetup during the summer. Definitely, we got to do it this summer, Paul, haven't we? We've been threatening to over the COVID period, but we'll try and organise something for sure, something central. It would be good. He's asking Saturday of 22-23 season game week 1 all in the pub together would be mega. Not sure how that would suit you, Paul, at that time, but we'll see.
August time, is it?
Yeah, start of August. August.
8 weeks old, and I've already been. And if we qualified for the World Cup, I've been given leeway for a week to Qatar. So I don't know. I don't want to chance my.
I can't remember if you'd announced it. You have you?
I can't remember either. Yeah,
I'm always really coy when I come to that sort of stuff.
That's all right. Having a baby girl in June.
Hey, well done, Paul.
We'll see what I can get away with.
Yeah, it would be mega. You could bring the little girl, Paul. Are you going to call her Doherty? Sorry, what an absolutely ridiculous question.
That's all right.
Looking forward to chat. Sorry, this is off Matt. Any early thoughts on United versus Brentford single game day? Could it be a skip? I think that.
What's your thoughts, Fergie? I've spoken. I think that I'm not going to go a Man United asset now. I'm pretty confident on that, and I'll be most likely a Brentford if I go somewhere.
I think it's quite easy to say now about Man United, obviously because they lost 1-0 to Everton. But obviously you expect them to do pretty well against Norwich. However, if they do turn up against Liverpool and Arsenal, and they do really grind up results and look to be kind of primed, then I do think there's almost a bit of a wait and see. Like these teams just go from they just it's form dips, right? So catching the players at the right time. But as it stands, the price point for Tony, is he like 7.9 or something like that, or is Mbemo 7.9? They're both crazy cheap, aren't they? They both fit much nicer into mine.
7.2, I think.
Yeah. So I think I'd probably jump on a.
I had originally looked at some daisy chain moving, but the problem is that on the Saturday afterwards, Man United, Liverpool, and Spurs all play, so I couldn't do like Salah to Ronaldo and then get an additional game out of Ronaldo before moving back to Salah.
Yeah, I think I'll probably, as it stands, end up on Tony or Mbemo. Mbemo, I think, but like I say, what's that? A good few weeks away, so we'll wait and see. Quick look at my team. Pope in goal, Laporte, Rudiger and Cancelo, Coutinho, Saka, Kulusevski, Gallagher and Maddison. The kind of problem I've got with this team at the moment is that, I personally think that they're all pretty good long-term picks. And this is why I'm talking about kind of daisy chaining rather than shifting play. I had Rafinha, and I think he was a pretty natural move off, I think, this weekend. And alongside a few other players, Kilman, for example, in this. Whereas this team now, the way it's set up, I think they're all pretty good long-term picks. So it may be daisy chaining between, 3-for-1s and a bit of form as well. But most of the teams there, apart from City, and City in for a certain reason, have all got plenty of fixtures and all good fixtures. And then like Salah and Kane up front, who are pretty essential, right? So can't really fit in. So I think I've got $500,000 in the bank. Can't really fit in Son very easily. So I do think I'm going to skip Son against Brighton, and then as what tends to happen in fantasy, natural opportunities occur at times, don't they? So reassess exactly. If that Brentford game, for example, does move to the Sunday, I'd be a lot more tempted to, move off someone to maybe get him in the following Sunday, or make a double move, because Matip would be playing on the Sunday, for example, so I could do a double move potentially, get Matip or someone else, or who's to say Kane doesn't pick up an injury, Salah doesn't pick up an injury, you never know, do you? So I don't want to move too early. Say my chase now firmly on a top 100 finish, so I just got it's got to be sensible. Saying that, if you do own Son already, I'm incredibly jealous, and sure he's going to be, sure he's going to do incredibly well for you over these next few game weeks. Hub £500 league, 10th place Christopher Sharkey, 9th Dean Hicks, 8th Daniel Thomas, 7th Ryan West, 6th Kelvin Guest, 5th Shane White, 4th Kieran Sutton, 3rd Peter Gilderdale, moved from 10th to 3rd. What a move by Peter. 2nd Maurice Weeks, and top Liam Stevens, who is 2nd overall in the leaderboard.
Spot the Son owners and non-owners.
You absolutely can't you? Massive greens and massive reds. You can spot them in that league. Well done to everyone there, and especially to Liam, who has been smashing it. He's 70 points clear now in this league. I think he's going to be incredibly hard to catch. Very well played there, Liam. And the Four Nations League, 10th place, Liam Doran. No change. I'm not sure whether that's because of moves or not, or whether we've had a bit of a break. I'm not sure. Let's start from where it's reasonable to start from. Probably my second team in 6th, struggling along at the moment. 5th is Liam on 2843. 4th, Dan 2846. My best team 2871 is in 3rd. Ian Parron has overtaken me now, 11 points clear. I'm sure he's going to smash me into the ground. He's in 2nd. And he's on your tail, Paul. Only, what's that, 37 points behind you now? So he's still top. Yeah. But Ian is right behind you. Going to be a very interesting chase to the line, isn't it? Going to be good.
Yeah.
Okay. That is it from us for this week. Thank you so much for everyone who has joined us live. Really appreciate it on this Wednesday lunchtime. Thanks to so much everyone who will watch it back and listen on the podcast versions. Your continued support is much, much appreciated. Thank you, Paul, for all your brilliant insight and thoughts. Where can people find you?
On Twitter at Paul McAnulty1, MCA,
My Twitter handle is at FFH_Fergi. So this podcast and video will be in the Fantasy Football Hub, Sky and TFF YouTube channel, and also available on all major podcast platforms. If you liked what you watched, please press the like button. Remember to subscribe in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. If you enjoyed your listen, please rate the podcast versions and leave some comments. Our handles on Twitter, Instagram and TikTok are at FFH_HQ, and our podcast Twitter handle is at FFH_Sky. Please drop us a follow and feel free to ask any questions. Our website is fantasyfootballhub.co.uk, where you'll find everything you need for fantasy football all under one roof, including player comparison tools, the fixture ticker, Opta stats, top player team reveals, and much, much more. We will be back next week looking ahead to the remainder of Game Week 36. I'll be licking my wounds again, no doubt, from another Son masterclass. I'll be looking ahead to Game Week 37. Stay safe and goodbye for now.